So it is now recording. So as many of you have noticed that when you came back from break, DegreeWorks looks completely different. Part of the reason why IT needed to go to the new version, we were on 4.16. This is now 5.02. There were some database changes that we required in the system. So as a result of that, they needed to move off of the old database onto the new database, which forced us to go into the new update. Additionally, being on this new version, the updates will take a lot less longer to process than they did before. Usually DegreeWorks had to come down for a day or two. Now what I'm being told, and if Nick and Andrew are in yet, these should be done much quicker. So we'll be able to bring the newer versions up as quickly as possible. What I understand is there's a version 5.0.3 that comes out this month, and we're hoping to have that implemented and up and running by January. The other reason we needed to do this is because we're trying to implement Planner. So we're working with Ellucian. We're waiting for Ellucian to contact us so that we can get a timeline. And some of you have volunteered to be in that core group, and so I appreciate any and all help. But we are going to be instituting what's called Banner, or DegreeWorks Planner, which will allow you to build plans for future terms. The nice thing about DegreeWorks Planner, when we finally get that implemented, students can actually run an audit based on their plan, so they can actually see whether or not their plan fulfills all of their requirements. And so hopefully we'll be able to have a little bit better picture plan. The other thing that the planner will allow them to do once the schedule is available is to actually drop in sections rather than just courses, and work with Banner self-service in order to drag those plans and drop those plans into Banner registration and register as a whole plan rather than having to register for individual courses. So with that, again, if you have questions, feel free to let me know. But we'll go ahead and get started with the walkthrough. The first obvious change is that this landing screen changes. You can enter in a direct ID as you did before. So my favorite person just for testing. The information is the same. The layout's a little bit different. Remember, this is now not a form-based page, but a web-based page. So things are going to look a little bit different. They're going to be in a little different location, but they're going to provide some of the same information. So we have our key block here. Our top block gives us the students' last four of their BEAR, their name, their degree. If they have more than one plan or more than one degree, you can go ahead and select that. It will automatically then generate the new audit. The information about the student's program, their classification, their level, their major, their program, college, are all here in this key block. One thing I want you to know is that the confidentiality indicator in previous DegreeWorks was a nice big red block up here, and that's because we were able to customize. We were able to do a little bit of customization with the form. We don't have that ability right now. We may not have that ability, so it's not as prevalent. However, I don't know how much you use that because it doesn't really mean anything to you as an advisor. If you have access to run their audits, you have access to their audit. It's more of just giving you a heads up that they have a confidentiality hold, what we call in the registrar's office a directory information hold, and we really shouldn't be releasing that any information to another source or to another party without the express permission of the student. The other difference too is that it does list the advisors. I don't know how much you're going to miss this, but I'm going to miss this feature. I used to be able to click on the advisor's name and send an email to the advisor. So that's going to be a little bit of a different adjustment for us here in the registrar's office, especially our degree analyst, because a lot of times when we do a course adjustment and we see that that course adjustment fulfills their program requirements, we would send an email off to the advisor and to the student and let them know. I am still able to email the student, however. So up here is your controls. So the upper right-hand corner is your controls for printing and emailing the student. So if I want to email the student, I can simply click on the envelope there. It'll give me the contact information, and I have a hyperlink to let me email the student about their degree plan. The other thing up here is the print key, if you want to print this out, or what we do is we send it a lot of times to PDF so that we can save it and index it into our system. One of the features of DegreeWorks that the other DegreeWorks did not have, I can't model it exactly, but I'll try to model it here a little bit, is the screen is responsive. So if the student is on a cell phone, it will respond to that and format for a cell phone. It'll format for a tablet, and so it's kind of responsive that way. It's going to be a little bit easier for a student on a mobile device to be able to read that without having to do a lot of scrolling left and right.
Hey Ken, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So in the old DegreeWorks, the students were able to email their advisor, and this doesn't look like under advisors that our names are hyperlinked anymore.
And that is correct. So that is something that we're going to miss out too. So the student would not be able to do that. Hopefully we can ask for that in a future release as an enhancement. But in this version right now, for some reason we can email the student, but the student cannot email the advisor. So.
Hey, Ken, can I chime in real quick?
Yes, please.
So when a student is in, that email icon will actually list their advisors, and it will have their advisor email address.
So the student, so because I'm in here, so they'll actually see that when they click on the envelope.
Their advisors will be listed there for them to email.
There you go. Good to know.
Awesome. Thank you.
So it's just they just changed the functionality to move it from a hyperlink into an icon. The 3 ellipses, this is where you're going to find, in old DegreeWorks, there was a button that would let you look at the class history. So that now is part of this upper right-hand menu. So the GPA calculators, we still have the GPA graduation calculator, the term calculator, and advice calculator. So I know that was some conversation a lot of times when people are trying to use the term calculator or the graduation calculator, they're using the one on URSA, but those are available here as well. Class history, it will give you a pop-up of all the class history in order of term. petitions, we're not utilizing, so this is not the same as course adjustments. We're not utilizing the petition feature in DegreeWorks. There's not a desire at this point to do so, but that's where that is. And then finally, notes. If this is a difference from the old DegreeWorks, used to be a left-hand nav to add a note. Now you simply come to the ellipse, go to notes, and you can go ahead and add a note here. So Becky says, you are good to graduate. Thank you, Becky. So,
and Ken, any of those notes can be seen by the student, correct?
So you can, all the notes are seen by the student unless you check this box, not available to the student.
Oh, okay.
By default, this is off. If you wanted to make a private note, you could. I wouldn't recommend that, but there is that feature. So as soon as I save that note, it lists that note. Where the notes are seen by the student is the same place as before. So all the notes, I didn't actually save that, but this is where the notes would be shown. So the student will see that unless they check that, unless you check that box.
So another question at that top part, is there an easy way to get their bear number without having to go all the way back?
So I guess the way I do it, so I was talking with my transfer team. They actually use DegreeWorks more to look up bear numbers than they actually look up in Banner, simply because they find the feature a little bit easier to do. So if I come in and I want to search for a student, I can find the student that I want, and I can find their bear number that way. So that's the only way at this point that you're able to find the whole bear number, is to actually do a search on that student. So if I go back and I want to search for just testing, I know what the last 4 digits of them are. Fingers don't work. Why didn't it find just testing?
Hey, Ken. When you hit search and you saved and it had a list of like several, there's a drop down where you can choose the list from. Like if you select multiple students at once, it looks like your search didn't work, but your search did. You just have to hit the drop down.
So I found it this way too.
Okay.
The other way too, it also lists all of their, the nice thing about this version, it lists all of their programs. So if they have 1, 2, or 3 priority programs, it's going to list them all here as well. Same thing, you select the one you want, hit select, and it's going to rerun the audit. Right now it's showing some functionality that is not turned on right now. So the academic worksheet is the worksheet that you will probably be in most often. You do have the ability to look at other reports. However, we were able to fix the student report, is the one that a lot of folks use. We were able to get that to show the indicators, that the check marks that they've either met or not met or in progress. So we were able to get that turned on. Thank you to Andrew Moore for finding that. Graduation checklist is another one. The only difference with graduation checklist, there's not as much information. So let me find a program that actually has more information. So this student is in the best program of all, recreation, tourism, and hospitality. It lists the requirements, but it does not list the courses. It just is a checklist of whether or not they've taken it. If they've taken it, then it lists the courses. So we don't find the graduation checklist to be all that useful. We here in our office pretty much are always using the student view. The what if feature, this one is a little bit different, and so we've been playing with it. It's very temperamental. It does want all of the required fields in a specific order. The good news about this is if I want to look for a new program, I do need to select all of the, we do not use Campus, so Campus is grayed out. But what it's going to do is it's going to be dynamic. It's going to limit the field of values. So when I choose undergraduate, when I pick degree, it's only going to pick the undergraduate degrees. When I pick college, it's going to then limit me to only the programs that are in that college. So if I want to pick Africana Studies, now I can go ahead and process that. And when I come down here, oops, I can see what it's going to take for me to finish the program with a major in Africana Studies. And so one other feature that I want to talk to you about on the what if. Some of you may have used a feature called look ahead. And so Ellucian, for whatever reason, decided to stick the look ahead in the what if version. So what I would need to do is I would actually need to pick the same program that they're currently in. I'm going to pick 2018-19 undergraduate, Bachelor of Science. Let's do Bachelor of Arts. No, that's not what I wanted, sorry. Let me pick this one more time. So what I need to do is I need to pick the program that they're in order to do a look forward. If I scroll down a little bit further, it says future courses. I can go ahead and add those courses in.
Hey, Ken, just to chime in real quick, the next release that'll come out that we'll put in production in the next month or so, we'll add a checkbox at the top to the what if that'll allow you to, that'll auto-populate those fields.
Yep.
It'll be like a look ahead checkbox. So
and we talked, yeah, so we talked about the ability to do releases. So that release is coming out in December, correct, Andrew?
yeah, it'll come out in 2 weeks, and we'll hopefully have it in production by sometime in January. But that'll make the look ahead feature. It'll still be under what if, but it'll add a little checkbox so you don't have to repopulate all their existing stuff.
Right, because obviously if you're doing a look ahead, you want to do that in their current program. Now you just simply need to, until that update comes out, you simply just need to select their program, process that. The only difference now is that when I come in and I look at their program and what I've added, so I've added RTH 203, I've added RTH 490, and I added Stats 150. So it's going to throw that in there as a planned term, just like it did in the previous version. So we still have the functionality. We use that a lot when students are calling and saying, I'm planning on taking these courses to finish my degree. We throw that in there and see if we get a clean audit and see that everything has been met.
Hey, I have a question again on the what if, sorry.
Go ahead.
So yesterday I was trying to do a what if for, it was an RTH major and adding a psych minor. And I couldn't, like, because I had to pick the college, it wasn't letting me show both the major and the minor together to
So
show
that-
what double dip.
So Andrew, we need to put that in as a that's going to be a problem, because if it's going to be dynamic, can we not pick the college if we simply pick the level?
I think that's the case when we were testing it yesterday, that it let you pick the level and get away with not picking the college. I also think we might have a rule that ties the new version of DegreeWorks is way more restrictive in some of the stuff that it used to ignore before. I think we might actually have a rule in place that says the minor has to be related to the major. I can't remember. But yes, I think you can do the, I don't know if
Sorry,
you can do,
you blocked out the minor has to what the major?
that's why I need to look, but I think there's a rule tying the minor and the major together. But I need to look to see if that is the case or not.
Yeah, because it's not allowing me.
Yeah, you have to pick degree, I think.
So let's try that.
Do we have to have degree? Is there an importance of that? I mean, can we
Trying it right now for you.
block that out?
If we try to block it out, it says your selection's not valid.
So let me try this for you again. So Becky, I picked the catalog year, I picked undergraduate, I picked the degree. It did let me pick rec, tourism, and hospitality. It did let me pick philosophy. So let's see if it processes. The circle's good news. So I think it's a matter. So you can do that. For me, I guess the sequence then is I need to pick the level. We go back to what if. You need to pick the level. Undergraduate, you do need to pick the degree, and then leave so that this asterisk that it's required is probably not completely accurate. We know that, Andrew, there are some defects where it's showing them as required, but they may not be required. But it did let me pick rec, tourism, and hospitality and philosophy, and it did let me run that. So there's rec, tourism, and hospitality, and there's the minor. So we will look into that and find out, and that could be, I think Stephanie would like us to do a help sheet, and so I think the what if feature will definitely be something that we want to include on that help sheet. Going back to the audit, one thing I want to point out is this block right here where it says student view. This GPA in banner 4.1.6, this degree GPA, overall GPA, did not always match or did not match necessarily banner. It rounded the GPA. So we had a student this year that was a little bit upset because the previous version of DegreeWorks said that she had a 3.90, when in reality, if you looked at the GPA for the honors, this person's not graduated, so honors isn't going to show up. It had the correct GPA as 3.89 in the block. That's been fixed in this version. So now instead of this GPA being a rounded GPA, it is a truncated GPA. So it's going to list whatever it is to the hundreds place. It's going to truncate it, meaning it's going to cut off everything after the hundreds place, but it is going to at least match banner. Hopefully that will. We probably get 3 or 4 calls, and it's usually students who are. So in the instance that I just mentioned, instead of them earning summa cum laude, they were actually magna cum laude, but the system led them to believe that they were actually a higher GPA. So just wanted to point that out. This has been fixed. It is now an accurate GPA. The in-progress classes and the pre-registered classes, those checkboxes are always checked by default. In progress is going to show you courses that the student is registered for. Pre-registered courses really have to do with the planner. So at this point, the only reason this box is checked is if you were to do a what if, look forward and look for planned courses. Those would be considered pre-registered or planned courses. But my recommendation would be to leave those alone. If for some reason you're not seeing students' current registration, make sure that that box is checked and processed again. We have noticed, it seems that if students are in their system, and I don't know, Andrew, if you can verify this, but it seems like if students are in Banner registration, the connection is lost between DegreeWorks while they're in there. It doesn't really know what they're doing and what they're trying to do. So it could be that the students are actively in making changes to the registration. I have not come across it very often. Normally, when I just make sure that those boxes are checked and processed again, I'll see the courses that are in progress. Did you have anything on that, Andrew?
I do not, but I can look into that.
All right, thank you. Here's another thing that we miss. We miss the color coding, the red, blue, and green. It made it a little bit easier for us to check. Instead of the red, blue, and green, we still have the red, blue, and green. It's simply up here in each block. So in the degree block, this is showing as incomplete. If they had everything met, but they were still pre-registered, it would be blue and say in progress. If they were completed with everything, it would be green and tell them that it is complete. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull up a student here real quick. So that you can see what that's going to look like. So there's a little bit difference in the icons. So the single tilde is gone and the double tilde are gone. And so if you need a legend for any of these things, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a legend. So the green checkbox is complete. The red circle is not complete. The blue half circle is complete except for courses in progress. So that's the single tilde. There's a circle with an exclamation point. That's the double tilde. And so, Andrew, I need to know what this prerequisite is. I'm not seeing that come up anymore. I don't know if that was a change. But I thought that indicated that a course had a prerequisite, but it didn't necessarily tell us what the prerequisite was. And then, of course, this @ symbol simply means any course number. If you see it in front, if you see two of these, it means any prefix, any course number. So going back to the top of this student, so their degree, they have everything except their major requirements are in progress. When I look at their major requirements, they have a previous degree, so they do not have their, they don't have the 3140 LAC rule, they do not have their basic core course LAC rule, and they don't have their 7 and 8 LAC rule because it's waived with a previous degree. But if they did not, those would be following the degree block. The major block tells me that they're in progress. So I'm going to come down and see where they're in progress, and it's because they're option 2. They've got their internship, and that's what's making them in progress right now because they're registered for 6 units in the fall. Their minor is complete, so it's got a green box, so I can trust that box, or I can come here and look and see yes, they have all of those 3 different areas met, and so it's complete. The graduation undergraduate honors box, that should always say complete because it's telling them whether or not they have honors or not. So it's either going to be green or red. I guess it could be blue if there were courses that they were still in progress for counting. So that's a little bit of a change. The other thing I wanted to point out is, for me, even though the layout is a little bit different, what I've noticed is that it's a little bit easier to see what courses are transferred and what courses transferred in for that requirement. And it also makes it a little bit easier for me to find the exemptions or the course adjustments. So in the previous version, these delineation lines weren't very clear, and sometimes I had a hard time following those lines and seeing what where that exception was. Here they're very clear. You're going to see all the different areas or all the different requirements within the area delineated a little bit clearer. If it's a transfer course, it's going to have this bolded satisfied by with the transfer course and where that course was taken. And for me, what's extremely easier for me to see now are the exceptions, because the exceptions now are going to be in this gold color. They're going to tell me who made the exception on what date and what that was. Was that a substitution? Was that a forced complete or a waiver? Was that an apply here? And then whatever notes the degree analyst puts in. We are asking the degree analyst to put in a little bit clearer notes, especially for substitutions or waivers, so that we understand what that course adjustment was for. If we scroll down, the only other difference, so all the other blocks are the same. So I'm going to go back to my test student. And I'm going to choose his Bachelor of Science. So the LAC block, at least until fall of 2022, is still the same configuration. You'll see basically the block requirements, the basic core courses, the LAC 7 and 8, the 31 rule and the 40 rule. You'll see that exactly the same way. If I click on that hyperlink for basic core courses, it's going to actually take me down to that basic core course block and show me what is in progress, what is missing, what is needed. When I'm in this block, the hyperlinks are still here. So for instance, they need an LAC area 1B. So if I click on that hyperlink, just like in the old version, a pop-up will come and list all those courses that are available. Unfortunately, this is going to be a throw out to Rosa. We still have not figured out a way to include prerequisites. I'm hoping at some point we'll be able to get put in an idea for that and a control to be able to show that prerequisite.
Hey, Ken?
Yes.
I think there actually is the ability now.
That would be wonderful. I think you make these folks extremely happy.
Let's talk.
If we could get the prerequisites to show.
Because I remember that icon you were mentioning earlier. I don't think it displays there, but I think they added the ability to add it here instead. So let's talk later.
And I think they would all agree that is a piece that, because right now what they're having to do is they're having to go back into the catalog to find those prerequisites when they're meeting with students. So if we can find that and that's available now, I think that'll make a lot of people happy. Becky, would you agree? I don't think Rosa's on right now.
Yes, highly agree.
Okay, good. I just wanted that confirmation. I needed that support there. And so all of that information is the same. So we have the basic core, we have the LAC 7 and 8 block, followed by the major, followed by, if there's a licensure, it'll follow a licensure. If there's a minor, it'll follow the minor. We still have the same, this was originally titled fall through. I believe that's correct, Andrew. Andrew was able to change that so that we have the same terminology in this version that we did in the old version. So now we'll still have the same thing, university-wide credits. So these are courses that would be a pool for course adjustments or courses that are not applying to any specific requirement in either the LAC block or the major or minor block. And so therefore they're simply going to the 120, but not applying to anything specific. We also have the insufficient. We named that the same thing. I can't remember. It may have actually been insufficient before, and we didn't have to change this. But this is where you're going to see withdrawals. You're going to see repeated courses. You're going to see Fs, unauthorized withdrawals. That's what's going to follow in the insufficient. The not counted, we made that the exact same. These are going to be usually transfer students who have exceeded their maximum transfer credits. These are courses that are still eligible for course adjustments. It's just that they've met the maximum transfer credit limit, and so if you do make a course adjustment from here, it'll just bump something else down into this block. And then you have the exceptions block, just like before. And we had a little bit of a problem with exceptions before. It was taking us quite a bit of time, but Andrew worked hard to figure out what was going on, and we were able to fix that. And so we're now making course adjustments as quickly as we were in the old version. It's still, again, just like it's a new look and feel for you. For our degree analysts who were in DegreeWorks probably 6.5 hours a day, that was a big change for them, trying to figure out how to manage that new look and feel, especially when we were doing course adjustments. And then finally the notes. So that note did finally come over, and so Becky, thank you for letting them graduate on time. So that's the new look and feel. I'm happy to take any questions. I've got Andrew on the phone. If you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, I'll try to answer it the best I can. If not, hopefully Andrew can answer it. We did record this, and so I believe what's going to happen is once we're finished recording, we will put this on the group chat. I don't know if Stephanie's still on, but I believe it's the advisor group chat.
Yeah, it'll be available on the group chat. It'll remain on this page where we've had the meeting. It'll be sitting there as a recording, and it should have a transcription included as part of it.
Great.
I've had a few people ask about that.
We're asking about that.
Yeah, and then because Chris is asking for a short training video for what I'm assuming is probably the HSS advisors, since they're the leads for advising in that college, I'm wondering, Andrew, if anyone else who's online from IT knows what's the feasibility of sharing the video to people who weren't part of this meeting.
So it's coming through Stream, right, Andrew?
Yeah, it's being streamed. I I don't see why we can't take the saved file and post it other places.
Well, so that I essentially I'm thinking short term, Chris, just if Chris could get a hold of it and then just share it with
Right.
their faculty, then, and then anybody else here, some of our professional advisors serve as the trainer and resource to their faculty. They can then share it within their colleges as well.
Yeah. Anything for Chris?
Yeah. Hi, this is Chris. So I do appreciate if we could share this, but I'm wondering, you had talked about maybe sort of a tip sheet or something that might be a little bit more condensed, that would have kind of these key points on it.
Yeah, we're going to work on a tip sheet. We just wanted to hear questions from this. We also are going to look at all of the discussion board that we've had, because it kind of gives us an indication of the things that are throwing people off.
Right.
Anything else?
One last thing, folks. What I learned from our last recording is that the stream won't end until everyone who's logged into this has logged out. So it won't generate until we're all off the meeting. So.
And I hope this was helpful.
It was very helpful. Thank you, Ken.
I have, thanks, Ken. I have one question. So if we discover any weird glitches, how do you want us to handle it? Do you want us to send it to IT, or?
I was hoping people would submit a ticket.
Okay.
Andrew, how would you like that done?
Yeah, a ticket would be the best way so I can keep track of things, because most likely it'll be I'm sorry, we can't do that, or yes, that's a known bug we'll fix, or I'll put a ticket in with Ellucian. So a ticket through Easy Vista, as hard as that sounds, would be the best way.
And do you want us to include like the student information so you can look up the specific student we're talking about?
Yeah, student information, actually screenshots would probably be the best, so I can get a visual idea of what I'm looking at.
Okay.
So I just want to throw out there, I really appreciate Andrew's support and help. While most of us had a snow day, Andrew spent almost that entire day getting DegreeWorks working and functioning so that we could test it. So Andrew, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
All right. We'll wait for everyone to hop off, and I will go ahead and stop the recording. And hopefully we'll be able to see this and point folks to this either on this page or on the advisor conversation.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, Marty. I'm gonna bump you off here.